the third. I grew up in this little small town, Haddonfield. I've been in the service. I've been halfway around the world and back. I have friends that don't even know how to talk to someone of different race or color. But being in Haddonfield gave you a certain. Nobody act like they were better, even though it's supposed to be an affluent town and all that. Like if I tell people that to this day, they don't believe it. They're like, get out of here. They're this, that. But I think it helped me in my travels and in my life, different places I've been, dealing with people other that are indifferent to myself or another color. It helped me that way, being the only dot in the crowd. You know what I mean? Maybe the only one of a different red color in the classroom. You had to deal. You had to get along with everybody. And they didn't look like you. I said being here, coming up here helped me a lot in my life. Different places I've been. It's really been a benefit. Yeah, it was fun. We had all the fields. I was a sports guy. Had football fields, basketball fields, tennis courts, baseball fields, everything was right there. So I lived on the playgrounds. Oh, my mom at the church, she'd always whip something up real quick. And she'd run you out the kitchen. My brother, he's passed away, my brother right under me. Always liked to follow her in the kitchen and see what was going on. This food's not ready yet, get out of here. But Sunday dinner, you go to church, you're out at 1 o'clock, you have dinner by 4 o'clock, 3 hours. Dinner's made that quick. Yeah, she was a vet with that. I grew up in church. My parents, my mother mainly, my father didn't really go until towards the end of his life. Last 5 to 10 years of his life, but my mom made us go to church, me and my sisters, my brother. Oh, I did so much, man. I was a cook in the service, went in the service, went to Germany, got stationed stateside in Georgia, did 6 years in the service, and after the service, I went to Atlantic City for a while. I was a boiler chef there in the Bally's Park place after I got out to service. Then I grew tired of that. I took a turn. I got with a contractor through the VA out of Philly and got a job hanging steel in California. Did that for like 15 months, a year. And I didn't want to jump all over the country with them. They were going to Washington after they finished their work there in the Bay Area, San Francisco. We hung rack from the ground up. You know what rack is? It's like a warehouse. You hang the steel from the slab up. We did that. And I didn't want to run on pop all over the country with them. I didn't want to go to Washington State, really. So I had a friend, a cat I met from Texas, from Beaumont, Texas. And he talked me into going to truck driving school. You ever hear Waxahachie? You ever hear that? You ever see that movie, Places in the Heart, with Sally Fields, Danny Glover, who was in that town? Anyway, I did that. Start driving, drove for them. It wore me out after a while. I got tired of running that, so I went to Allied, and then my mother got sick with leukemia. That's what I came back east then. I took a leave of absence first. I came back east, and I settled. I stayed with him for a while, and then I settled in Somerdale, New Jersey, before I moved to Camden. Yeah. after that, I started working for I worked out as United Steelworkers out of Philly, paper company where I retired from 2 years ago. Did 16 years there. United Steelworkers, Local 286. Retired from there 2 years ago. And now all I do is make house calls, visit, go to the gym, go to Florida once a year, get ready to do that next month, and that's about the size of it. And just live an easy, simple life. I really wanted to go to school, and then again, I really didn't want to go to school. All I had was one partial scholarship for football, and my grades were terrible. So that's why I end up going in the service. To save face, I went in the service. So I got tired of people asking me, what school where you going to college at? I'm like, you just don't know. I ain't getting into college. So I went in the service. You know what I mean? I don't get back here much. That old neighborhood, like where me and my friend here grew up at, everybody's different. It's all changed other than her family and maybe one or two others. Nobody's there. It's all different. It's like that little area is completely different than when we grew up. Shucks, I can't afford it. I couldn't afford that. I'd rather have money in the bank and be able to go on a trip once a year. I'm not trying just to say I live in such a place. I'm not doing that. Most of my buddies, one's in Nevada, one's in Puerto Rico, and two are here. And they're good support. The two that are here are good support for me. One of my boys is not in too good a shape. I pray for him. He had a heart attack for July, having a barbecue. And he's got a pacemaker, but I told him all he needs to do is just put his trust in the Lord, and God will pull him through. And so he's out now. He got out the other day, so that's a good thing. You know, when I left, I pretty much left. Like right after high school, like Carla. Carla's around in that area more than I am because her family's still there. You know, she's got sisters and brothers. But I don't, I'm doing my thing. I'm elsewhere. I don't get a chance to go back because nobody's there really other than one or two families. And one family, they're not up with all the socializing and all that. Like I see her when I can. The Mountwell pool got closed up. The pool that I learned how I told you about, that pool is still there. And you ask people about that. Like I've asked people in Camden because I know back then, back in the day in the 70s, people would actually ride their bikes from Camden just to go to that pool. But they ended up closing it up because it became a nuisance. 1971, they closed up. But we loved there. And that pool is still there to this day. It's got weeds going. They never filled it in with concrete or busted up. 1971. From the Little League fields to the football fields to the tennis courts to the best, all that was right behind my house growing up. All of it. My pop, I used to get my tail whooped sometimes if I stayed out there too long when I was really young. Like before I was 12, if I was out past a certain time. Matter of fact, listen to this one. When I was 12, 13 years old, I had a paper route and I got the contract to line the field. Don't you know my old man took the money from me? My mom was so mad at him. They got in a big argument over that. I had the contract. I was getting like $100 a game. At that time, that was a lot of money. And my pop he had to ride them. He worked at McGuire Air Force Base. And he always told me, you understand when you get older. He took the money from me for gas. He was riding back and forth to McGuire. He was the boss in non-appropriated fund, housing maintenance there. He was the man. I did one, maybe 2 games. and my pop took over. He took over. But I got, that was my first newspapers, and that was my first job getting money. I was like 12. Oh, I thought I was going to be a ball player. No doubt. That's what I thought. What kid didn't that played sports? I thought I was going to be a ball player. Yeah. That's what I thought. My old man, right, was a merchant seaman. And he had a house in Springfield, Massachusetts. My aunt, she's passed away now, my Aunt Jane, she was the oldest one. And my old man was renting her a room in his house. He worked, he was a merchant seaman. This is before he got with McGuire Air Force Base. He worked for Smith & Wesson Guns there in Springfield, Mass, at the Armory. And he had a couple of properties, like my house that I grew up in, and he had that built from the ground up. So he was like a stranger to the people. Didn't like him at first, when he first, you know what I mean? He had the house, so all the other blacks were like, who's this guy coming in? Getting the house built. But he had properties in Springfield. My old man was a coal miner's son. You know, he grew up in the hills of Alabama, Dubuque, in the coal mine area. Yeah, there'd be some more black families or something move in there. Moving in the old neighborhood especially. Because back then, that was not considered Batesville, but it was considered the Point. That little area, that little pocket, like the East End, not the West End of Haddonfield, but the East End. Because, and a lot of times ignorance comes just from not knowing. So people have a tendency to just be ignorant just because we don't know. We're not just like us having this little talk, you're finding out stuff. Even though it might be like pulling teeth on some stuff. But unless you know, you're ignorant to the fact. We're all guilty of that at times, you know. You gotta know. And that would be, like you said, if more people would sit down that are different, would talk, and not just come to assumption or categorize people. Everybody's got to be in the same can of worms, the same bunch. Nah.
Always be proud of what you've overcome, and always be proud of all the battles you've won, and always be proud of all of your darkest days, the tears you held back when you walked away, and always be proud of your mom and your dad, and whatever